February 14th, 1933. Bumpy Johnson faced 12 men alone. Dutch Schultz had sent his deadliest crew. Tommy the Executioner, Vento, Marty, Icepick Delaney, and 10 more whose names were unknown even to the police. They cornered Bumpy in the Cotton Club basement. No witnesses, no escape. Bumpy was 27, still learning the ropes. Dutch was the most powerful mobster in New York. Everyone expected the same outcome, Bumpy Johnson dead in a basement. But what Dutch didn't realize was that Bumpy didn't follow anyone's rules. 90 minutes later, only one of those 12 men walked out alive, carrying a message that made Dutch Schultz, the man who had killed over 40 people, pale. This is the story of the night Bumpy Johnson became untouchable. To understand that night, you must understand Harlem in 1933. This was no longer the Harlem Renaissance. The Depression had struck hard. People were desperate, and when people are desperate, they gamble. The numbers racket and illegal lottery was the lifeblood of Harlem. You could wager a nickel and win $50. For people earning $7 a week, that nickel was hope, and hope was currency. Dutch Schultz recognized that currency. He was a German Jewish mobster from the Bronx who had made millions bootlegging during Prohibition. But Prohibition was ending, and Dutch needed a new empire. He looked south toward Harlem, saw the money flowing through the numbers game, and decided he wanted it all. There was just one problem. Harlem already had its kings. Madame Stephanie St. Clair, the queen of numbers, and her enforcer, a young man named Bumpy Johnson. Bumpy was unlike ordinary muscle. He wasn't just a trigger man. He was intelligent, had educated himself in prison, reading Shakespeare and philosophy. He understood that respect in Harlem wasn't purchased with fear. It was earned through loyalty. When Madame St. Clair's runners were robbed, Bumpy recovered the money. When corrupt cops tried to shake down black businesses, Bumpy made them disappear. Not always with violence, sometimes simply ending careers and reputations. He was calculated and refused to bow to Dutch Schultz. In January 1933, Dutch sent representatives to Harlem. They met Madame St. Clair at her club on 133rd Street. The message was simple: work with Dutch, pay tribute, or be buried. Madame St. Clair, a Caribbean immigrant who had built her empire from nothing, looked at these white men in her club and said, "Get out." The emissaries turned to Bumpy in the corner. "You want to be smart about this, boy." Bumpy didn't move or speak, only stared. That stare, the one that made men reconsider their life insurance. The emissaries left and reported back to Dutch. Dutch Schultz, who had never been told no by anyone, certainly not by a black woman and her enforcer, made a decision. Burn it all down, starting with him. He didn't just want Bumpy dead. He wanted a message, public and brutal, the kind of death that forces everyone else into line. February 14th, 1933. Valentine's Day, ironic, considering what was about to happen. Bumpy got a tip. Dutch's men were planning to raid Madame St. Clair's main counting house on Lenox Avenue at dawn. Bumpy went to inspect it alone. That was his first mistake, or maybe it was. Maybe Bumpy knew exactly what he was walking into, the Cotton Club basement. Not the downtown club for white audiences, but the after-hours spot where Harlem's players drank, gambled, and settled scores. The basement was storage, filled with liquor crates, poker tables, and a single exit through a narrow staircase. Perfect for a trap. 4:32 a.m. Bumpy descended the stairs. The room was dark, lit by a single swinging bulb. Then he heard its safeties clicking off. 12 guns, 12 men emerging from the shadows. Tommy the Executioner. Vento stepped forward. Tommy had killed 16 men, always at close range, always looking them in the eye. He smiled. "Dutch sends his regards." Bumpy stood calm, hands at his sides, scanning the room slowly, counting 12. He looked back at Tommy. "That all you sent?" Tommy's smile faded. That's the thing about Bumpy Johnson people never understood. He didn't bluff. He meant what he said. Outnumbered 12-1, asking if that was all they sent was not bravado, it was calculation. "You got 5 seconds to beg," Tommy said, raising his gun. Bumpy tilted his head. "You're making a mistake." "What mistake? You're about to die." "The mistake," Bumpy said slowly, "is thinking I came here alone. 12 guns trained on him, but now doubt and hesitation." Tommy glanced at the stairs, nothing, looked back. "You're bluffing." Bumpy smiled for the first time, then shoot. Nobody fired. Dutch Schultz's men didn't know Bumpy had been fighting since he was 10 in Charleston, South Carolina, before Harlem. Street fights, prison riots, territory wars. He learned what most men never did. Violence has a rhythm. In that basement, Bumpy controlled it. Tommy's finger tightened on the trigger. Last chance. Bumpy moved. What happened next no one could fully explain. The survivor's account was fragmented. But we know this: Bumpy didn't reach for a gun, he reached for the light. One punch, the bulb shattered. Darkness total, then chaos. Shots rang wild, men firing at shadows and sounds. Tommy yelled, "Hold your fire!" But fear doesn't obey commands. In that darkness, Bumpy became something else. He knew the room, had played there hundreds of times, knew every crate, every table, every corner. Dutch's men didn't. One by one they fell, not from bullets but from Bumpy's hands, using their panic, their confusion, even their own gunfire. Screams, bodies hitting the floor, chaos. Tommy tried to regroup, heading for the stairs, but Bumpy was already there. 3 minutes of violence felt like hours. Then silence. When someone opened the basement door from above, spilling light down the steps, this is what they found. 11 bodies, not all dead, but down, broken bones, gunshot wounds from friendly fire, unconscious, bleeding. One man sat against the wall, gasping, gun still trembling in his hand. Marty Delaney, the only one conscious. Bumpy had vanished like smoke. Marty crawled up the stairs, 20 agonizing minutes, broken ribs, maybe worse. He reached the street as the sun rose, flagged a cab with blood-soaked money. Bronx, Arthur Avenue, Dutch Schultz's headquarters, 8:17 a.m. Marty staggered into Dutch's social club. Dutch was having breakfast, eggs, toast, coffee, reading the paper. He looked up, saw Marty drenched in blood, and froze. "Where are the others?" Marty couldn't speak, just shook his head. "Where are my men dead?" Marty whispered. "All of them. He let me live." Dutch rose slowly. "He what?" "He let me live to deliver you a message." Silence fell. Dutch's lieutenants, accountants, and guards all stopped, watching. "What message?" Dutch's voice was ice. Marty reached into his jacket. Dutch's men reached for their guns. Marty produced a single card, the ace of spades, bloodied. He placed it on the table. "Tell him Harlem isn't for sale. Send more men, send more cards. He's building a deck." Dutch Schultz stared at the card. His men waited, expecting 50 men to storm Harlem. Instead, Dutch picked up the card, studied it, then smiled, not happily but with weary respect. "He's got nerve. I'll give him that, boss. Dutch raised his hand. "You know what it costs to fight someone unafraid to die, someone smarter than you, someone with a whole neighborhood behind him." He shook his head. "It costs everything. For what? Numbers, money." There was easier money. He dropped the card in the ashtray, lit it. "We're done in Harlem. Let Bumpy Johnson have it." The decision stunned everyone. Dutch Schultz, the man who had fought Lucky Luciano, killed his own partners, never backed down. Why? Because Bumpy had done something even Dutch respected, shown he would die for his principles. Men like that are not fought. You kill them or leave them alone. Dutch couldn't kill him. Years later, a reporter tracked down a former Cotton Club employee. The old man smiled. "Want the truth? Bumpy wasn't alone. 4 guys upstairs the whole time. They locked the basement door once Dutch's men went down, trapped them inside. Bumpy could have killed all 12, but spared one deliberately. Killing Dutch's men would have started a war, humiliating them ended it. True or legend, no one knows. What we do know, after that night, Dutch Schultz never sent another man into Harlem. Bumpy Johnson became the undisputed king of Harlem's underworld. For 35 years, he protected the neighborhood like family, not with random violence, but with strategy, intelligence, and code. And that ace of spades, Bumpy kept it, framed it, hung it in his office. A reminder: respect isn't given, it's taken. February 14, 1933. 12 men went into a basement, 1 came out, and Harlem was never the same. If this story moved you, hit subscribe. We're telling the Bumpy Johnson stories history forgot, the moments that made him legendary, the code that made him untouchable. Drop a like if you think Bumpy was the smartest man in Harlem. And in the comments, what would you have done if you were Dutch Schultz? More legendary stories coming tomorrow. Don't miss it.